Hello everyone, I'm Sir Romel Maja, your English teacher. Okay, the focus of our lesson for today is about knowing the writer's purpose. For the background information for learners, try to recall what your English teachers are asking you since elementary days and until now. For sure, you'll agree that you are being encouraged to have a journal or a diary of your own, right? Challenging at first, but as you do it on a daily basis, your love for writing gets stronger, doesn't it? It can be noted that some good writers, if not all, started from writing their own experiences. Experiences that made them happy, triumphant, excited, thrilled, sad and lonely, using a journal or a diary. These feelings drive them to constantly write, for they find solace doing it. As they become accomplished writers over the years of doing what they love to do, their purpose evolves. In this lesson, students are supposed to know the writer's purpose in writing through the following elements, which are plot, setting, and characterization as hits. The learning competency in this lesson, the students are expected to appraise the unity of plot, setting, and characterization in a material view to achieve the writer's purpose. But before we start, just be sure that you have with you your activity sheets. The activity sheets allow you to write your answers. Once we're done with the lesson, the activity sheets shall be deposited in grade 10 English box located in your respective barangay hall. The activity sheets shall then be collected on a weekly basis by me, of course, for checking. So I hope that everything is clear. Let's start. For your task 1, this is about self-assessment. Here, you are to give your honest answer on the following questions by putting a check mark in the parentheses. For the first question in the picture, feel free to write whatever skills you have, just like here. So as you can see, if you have your activity sheet right now. Okay, so let's have the first question now. So what are you good at? So you're supposed to write anything or something about your answer here. It could be playing an instrument, it could be in dancing, it could be in singing, so whatever you are good at. For the second question, are you a good writer? But this time you have to pick whether it's yes or no. It's answerable by yes or no, so just put a check mark if it's yes, or if not, no. So the third question is, are you good in math? Just the same. It's answerable by yes or no. The next question is, do you play any sports? What about, are you a good singer or do you play any musical instrument? Now, are you always elected as an officer or appointed as the group leader? So, answer yes or no. The next question is, are you good in painting or drawing? Okay, let's find out. And what about the last question? Do you have a green thumb? So, I hope that you have already your answers, whether it's yes or no. So by now, after knowing your capabilities, do you think it's right to be cocky or having so much confidence and annoy the people around you? This task has something to do with the video that you will be watching later on. For task 2, as you can see, there's this question, what I can recall. So basically, you just have to recall something about what you did before. For this particular exercise, you are to choose from the list of authors on the right and write the author that does each type of writing on the space before the number. So here are the type of authors on the right. It could be a biographer, it could be a journalist, novelist, playwright, poet, or script writer. So here on the box, you would see author's practice. Now, all you have to do is to write whether the one being described here is something like the type of authors here on the side. Just like, who do you think is responsible on writing the front page story of the newspaper? Is it the biographer? Is it a journalist? Is it a novelist, playwright, poet, or scriptwriter? You can write your answer here on the space provided. Now for number 2, he is the one responsible in writing a play performed in a New York City theater. Take note, this is just an exercise, but the best thing that you could do is to think and remember what are those that you have studied before regarding the type of authors. This is just a review actually. So for the third number, he is the one responsible in writing a story about a futuristic war started on Earth. Fourth, this is the writer who writes the famous novel called War and Peace, or someone who actually wrote the novel called War and Peace. Number 5, a writer who writes the modern poetry in lines that do not rhyme. Number 6, a writer who writes a scary movie. Number 7, what about a writer who writes a television documentary about panda bears? Number 8, someone who actually responsible in writing a book about the life of Albert Einstein. Number 9, a writer who actually writes an article about a recent event in your city. And the last one is about a movie about a real period in history. So I'm going to give you enough time to think of the type of authors that you are going to write on the space before each number. So you can actually pause the video, and once you're done, if you have all the answers, then keep it that way, and then just replay or play again the video so that we can move on to the next exercise, because I believe there's another exercise after this one. So let's just find out. Okay, this time for exercise number 2, we have a review about short story vocabulary. Now all you have to do is to identify the elements of a short story as defined. So let's just have the first one. Anyway, as you can see on the bottom left side of the screen, you would see the possible answer, so that it wouldn't be hard for you to think of an answer. So the possible answers are plot, characterization, theme, setting, and point of view. So let's just have the first one. Since you have your activity sheet, you are also free to write your answer on the spaces or on the box, which are actually underlined. Okay, so let's just have the first one. So this is the element that tells the reader where and when the story takes place. So what do you think is that element? I know that you are very much aware of this one. Okay, let's just have the second one. This one is an element which is about the creation of imaginary people who appear to be real to the reader. The writer gives information about the characters in the story. Oh, I know you have already your answer, so let's just have the third. This is an element of the plot wherein a series of events through which the writer reveals what is happening, to whom, and why. I know you're very much capable of writing or recalling whatever that is. So the next is, this is another element of a short story the position of the narrator of the story, and what the writer sees from what vantage point. So just say first person, it could be I or me, third person, he and she, they and them. Just write your answer on this part, on the blue part. Okay, next, the last one is about an element that actually provides the message the writer intends to communicate by telling the story. Different from the topic, of course, and it must be written in a sentence. So what do you think is this element that we are looking for? So feel free to write all your answers on the blue boxes, and you could see there the lines wherein you could actually write legibly your answer so that I could easily check your work. Okay, so if you're still thinking, I'm also giving you the opportunity to pause the video so that you could write everything that you want to write on that activity sheet. But of course, if you're done answering, you can still continue the video by clicking the play button. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, for the third exercise, you have the elements of the plot. Remember the first activity, the previous exercise that we had is about elements of a short story, but this time it's about elements of the plot. Remember that plot is just part of the elements of a short story. Now this time what you're going to do is to match column A with column B. As you can see, here is column A, this part, and this is column B. Okay. Now what you have to do, write the letter that corresponds to your answer before each number. So basically, your answers could only be what? From A down to E. Okay, so just like what I said, these are elements of the plot. Now, what element do you think is this one? It says, beginning of a story where the characters and the setting are revealed. Is it resolution or denouement? Is it letter B, rising action? Letter C, falling action? Letter D, climax? Letter E, introduction or exposition? So let's have number 2. All you have to do is to select the letter of your choice. Now, second is, this is where the events become complicated and the conflict is revealed. Another, you just have to choose from A to E again. So number 3, it is the highest point of interest and turning point of a story. What do you think it is from the elements of the plot here? Okay. Number 4, it is the events and complications begin to resolve themselves. What element is that of the plot here? Okay, and the last is, this is the final outcome or untangling of events. So basically, it's you can find clues from this column as to what you could actually write on the space before each number. Okay, so once again, if you need more time to think about of your answers, you could still pause the video and then click the play button so that we could move on. Okay, so let's just have the next. Okay, so as you can see, we're on task 3 right now, which is about viewing and listening proper. Now, for those who have the modules, all they have to do is to actually copy this URL, this link, so that they could watch the story entitled The Carpenter and the Painter in YouTube. Now, what is the relation of this video? Now, in task 1, you were able to assess yourself on things that you are good at, right? So have you been cocky about it? Let's find out in the story how the characters learn from each other's abilities. Mhm.